Start with a quick introduction, what we are and how we are actually supporting our customers. And then I'll continue through the bit of context and scenarios and some basics. And I'll try to put the business capability model at the center of discussion today, and that's why I'll spend a bit of time on the business capability modeling. And then I'll try to explain that how business capability modeling can help to get some value out of it. At the end, obviously there is a time to Q&A, and yes, please send your questions, and we discuss those further as needed. Evolution is a company which is actually providing enterprise architecture solution and services. We are a leader in Gartner MQ and Forrester Wave and some other like independent tools. And we do have offices all around the world. Of course, in Sydney, I'm sitting in here. In Singapore, we have offices in the UK, in the US, and South America. And this is actually growing. But during the last more than 20 years, actually what we do is helping we provide services to thousands of enterprise architects and helping them to solve the problems that they face in their enterprises. So we help them to help the enterprises, and it is happening in almost every country, if you like. But Evolution is providing a solution, and the solution called Abacus, if you may know about it. But Abacus is actually coming with it is a certified application with Open Group, and it's just coming with more than 100 different frameworks out of the box that you can just start using them and customize them for you. And anything that you can see in this presentation and this session, it's built in the Abacus. So all the artifacts and the the data that you see are coming from Abacus. And let's get us started with a bit of more context. I mean, a very fair question here is that what do you mean by boosting enterprise or business strategies with business capability model? And how we can actually do that in a bit of more practical way. To do so, I'll start with a bit of more scenarios in here. A couple of scenarios which are kind of bring you into the context a bit and explain the overall approach that we have in here. So the first one is about Jacob, which has been assigned to analyze one of the strategies of an enterprise, like digital transformation strategy. What he did is he started to put together the business capabilities which are actually supporting the strategy and try to deliver the goals of the strategy. And then he come up with a list of underlying technologies and processes there, which are actually serving the capability. And the observation was that some of the capabilities which are required for the strategy, like service design or sales, which has been marked in here, they are good to go. They are able to support the business, the digital transformation strategy. But there is one capability out there for distribution, which is running based on the legacy systems. And because of that, there is a risk that in next 18 months, we are not able to achieve the goals of this strategy. So that's actually one of the outcome. And as you can see, the view that is created in here is very simply tell the whole scenario for the business. So it doesn't need to do a very kind of a huge amount of let's say practices in here. It's just coming with single diagram to show the whole scenario. There is another use case in here, and this time it's Sarah, which has been assigned to evaluate another strategy, like for customer first strategy. And then again, she started to study the business capability and the capabilities which are actually serving the business to achieve the strategy and the goals of that. And for that, she started to look at the value streams or the service offering that they have, and also the personas, customer journeys, which are more so linked to the customers. And then she realized that, I mean, everything is fine. The alignment is in place. Capabilities are doing well. but still the customer experience score is not good enough to achieve the objectives of the strategy. So, and then she come up with a bit of a suggestion in here that if we are going to achieve that particular goal, we need to enhance one of our capabilities, which is the engagement capability. And for that, we need to add a new channel, as in like an AI-based channel, to get to that target that we're aiming. So this is another practical scenario that you probably could answer after this session or look at after this session. But if you look at the scenarios, if we go through the like similar scenarios, we come up with this conclusion that these scenarios are more so analytics based on a bit more analysis that we're doing on the existing data, and there should be a baseline in place to do the job. So we need to have a stage in there. We need to have the kind of a structure in place and a baseline in place to be able to analyze these type of alignment between the strategies and the business. And in here, I'll just introduce three main key elements that if you have those things, you would be able to go through those type of scenarios. So the first one is meta model. And the second key element is business motivation model. And the third one is business capability map. So if we have these three elements, we would be able to answer those type of questions. Let's have a closer look at each and see what are those. So this is about the meta model. And since we are going through a bit of more model-driven approach for like enterprise architecture, we do need to have a meta model. Let's assume that you're building a house, and obviously if you don't have a building plan, of course, you're not getting there properly as you wish. And similarly for the enterprise architecture, if we don't have a meta model, we are not able to proceed good enough. But if we do have a meta model as a structure which is leading us toward the objectives and goals that we have, we would be able to get agility, integrity, and consistency because we have a structure in place which is kind of driving the whole practice. There would be alignment and proper communication. Well, we have kind of a common language in here, the way that the people are actually kind of translate the enterprise architecture to a model. And obviously by that we would have we would minimize the risk of the of operating and running the business. And that's actually the need or the reason that we need actually a meta model. But once we have a meta model, there are two other areas that the meta model has to be able to support it. So business strategies and business capabilities are part of the meta model. So we assume that meta model is addressing all the aspects of the enterprise, including those two. And if you look at this view in here, you would see that we have this why part, which is talking about why I'm doing the business, and also the what part, which is saying what are the abilities that I have. And these are actually two areas that I'm going to refer. But the point here is that the meta model has to be able to cover those areas. So on top for the why part, or like the covering of the strategies, we need to have a business motivation model sitting in here. And for this what part, we need to have business capability model. Let's have a closer look at each. So business motivation model, I'm going with OMG business motivation model, which is actually covering means and ends of a business in a structured format. It is a very comprehensive model, of course, that you might be familiar with. But the view that you see in here is a kind of a simplified version of that. And the business motivation model that you're going to implement is basically looking at the vision and mission, the strategy, goals, objectives, and tactics. And just by putting those elements as part of the model and try to build up a baseline for those elements, we would be able to start doing a bit of more understanding of the motivation of the business. And if we can proceed a bit more, we could come up with a bit of more visibility, like considering the strategy and the way that it is actually interacting with the other areas. What are the goals and the objectives that the strategy would have, and what are the tactics that we use to implement the strategy. So we can create these type of views for us based on the portfolio and based on the motivation model that we're building. And then this is actually leading us toward the strategic planning. So in short, we would just build up the motivation model as a baseline, and we try to use that to understand the path through the project management and through the action plan that we have to kind of proceed with collecting the values of the business. But this is about the business motivation model. Another element is business capability model, and we also need to have it. Well, looking at the existing reference models out there, per industry almost, we would have a separate or a different capability model, which is map and match with that particular industry. So whatever model that you're going to use, or if you build up some business capability model from the scratch, you might need to have a model in place, which is actually kind of helping you to understand the ability of your business. So you can start with the existing reference model for your industry and try to map that to your actual business capability model, or you can just build something from scratch, but this is actually what we need. And once we have a model in place, we would create a very simplified view of that, and we call it like business capability map. So the business capability map is actually the kind of referring to the business capability model and present the model that we're using, part of the like enterprise architecture framework that we have. And in here you can see that there are two examples of it. So we have two examples of it, like you see that it is a one-pager view of the whole capabilities and like the way that they are structured together. And this is actually the view that we use to just collect values and get values for business and come up with some alignment there. So this is actually one of the views that I'm looking for at the end of the day. But if I put all those things together, we talked about three key elements, like the meta model, the business motivation model, and business capability model. But I want to see, or I want to look at this from a bit of different perspective, and this time kind of outside in, as in like the way that the customers actually, or customer experiences coming to the picture. So obviously we have some customer stories, the way that they are engaging with our solutions, systems, and products. And then we have some services that we're offering to the market, which has been all products, which has been formed by the value streams that we have. And the value streams are kind of formed based on the capabilities, as in like the way that they work together and provide the value to the business. And those capabilities are running on the existing people, processes, and the IT technology services that we have. So this is an overall ecosystem of the enterprise that we're doing from a different perspective. But at the left side of the slide, you can see that we have strategies, and obviously we need to have an alignment between the business strategies, like in any level or in any area. But the area which is so important for us, and I'll put a focus on that, is this one, which has been marked with a bit of more darker color. And this is a alignment between the strategy and the capabilities that we have. So we're looking for this alignment in here. And I assume that if we have this alignment in place, and if we could have this alignment in place, then probably the other alignments and the other business alignments among the other elements are easily achievable. So I'll just go through a bit more business capability modeling implementation as well. But this is happening based on the different approaches or different methods that we can start to build up the business capability map. And the reason that we need to have it, I'll get there, but a business capability map is the one which is actually we use it as a reference or as a planning tool to find out the alignments, as in like the area that we have a focus to understand how business is doing right, or there is an issue or risk out there. So the approaches, I have like 4 different approaches to build up the business capability map in here. The first one is the top-down approach, or a strategy-centric. This approach is basically started with kind of understanding the list of strategies that we have. So we do have a list of strategies, and we try to find out the capabilities that we need to achieve the goals of those strategies. So we put the strategies like as a source or as a start point, and then try to understand what we need or what kind of ability we need to deliver the goals of those strategies. And then obviously for that, we will talk to the executive level and the relevant stakeholders. And then, we just get the list of the strategies as as an input in here. But then there is another approach, which is a bit kind of bottom up, and it's like more so capability centric. So in this approach, we look at the existing like day-to-day things like operations, business processes, organization chart, the existing capabilities which have been already experienced. And then based on that, we start to kind of build a business capability map for us. And that's actually kind of looking at like the existing actual capability that currently is running in or running based on the assets and the other areas or domains of the business that I have. And then obviously we can try to find out how those capabilities are helping me to drive the business and achieve the goals of the strategies that I have. But in here, we're talking about or talking to also the people who are more domain experts or stakeholders, which are day-to-day, they are doing day-to-day job. So that's a bit of a different approach in here. The third approach is more so looking at or starting with the reference framework. As I try to show you, there are different reference frameworks based on the industry out there, and you can start with any of those which is relevant to you, and then try to customize that, as in like map that to the actual environment or the real capabilities that you have, and try to build up a business capability for you according to the existing reference model. So probably, and one option is that it's 100% map, but sometimes you want to change that to be more fit for you. And in this approach, you also talk to different levels or different stakeholders to make sure that the business capability map is aligned with what you are really doing. And well, I mean, I need to mention that any of those are sort of iterative. So you build up a draft, you need to talk to the people, and then you come up with improvement and development. And the fourth approach is more so hybrid. So you can start with studying the strategies and also studying the existing processes, capabilities, organization chart, and all those things, and try to build up a business capability by reusing the existing reference frameworks, which is actually a bit of more like a hybrid approach that you can build up your business capability model. But the way that you actually build up the capability model is probably using a bit of a map at the beginning. And sorry. And for that, I think we're starting to build up the map by kind of classifying the business capabilities. I'm talking about 2 main areas of the capabilities that probably you're going to focus. And this is coming based on the existing or best practices out there, but not necessarily the only way to go. But if you study the existing reference model, you would find kind of a similar pattern in here. So we have some enabling capabilities, which is more so talking about like a kind of back office type of supports, like financial resources or managing information technologies, or like HR resources management. These are actually the areas or the capabilities that are considered as part of the like the enabling capabilities. But then you have the other capabilities in here, which are more so core capabilities and help you to run the business. And if you look at on top, you see the value chain is just listed in here. And well, I mean, the capabilities or the capability map is coming with the layers, and you always start with layer 0 and try to break down the capability to a couple of more layers, normally 2 to 3, sometimes 4 layers. But value chain could be a guideline for you, as in like either you put the value chain at level 0 and start to break the elements of the value chain and into the the levels, or you can go with the level 0 of the capability. But if you're not going with the value chain, the level 0 has to be fully aligned with the value chain. So, well, some of the implementation will start with the value chain at level 0 and try to break it down. But it is not necessarily the only way to go again. You can go with like business capability and put the value chain as in like a guideline or a kind of the alignment point to make sure that the core capabilities are aligned with the value chain. This alignment has to be in place once you build up the core capabilities. And as you can see, the order or the sequence of the items is also important. So normally, for example, for the planning part, we can go with like a bit of more strategic planning things. For example, we build up the vision and strategy development. And then for example, for build or make part, we can go with a bit of more build up the or development of the products and services. For example, for the engagement, we go with the channels and marketing, for instance. Observation is a bit more optional, I would say, as in like the feedback loop and some sort of monitoring systems that you would like to have as a capability. Make sure that like everything is on track. But this map is actually helping you to form the capability or business capability that you're building. And like I said, it is a bit more iterative. So you can start with the high level, level 0, and then level 1 and level 2. And I'll go through the process of it next slide. But the outcome would be a view like this at the end of the day. So we have, again, like one page of view, which is showing me the capabilities, core capabilities, enabling capabilities, or any other grouping that you have. And then each segment is coming with like a breakdown in the levels. And that's actually what you have. If you study the existing reference model, you would be able to find a pattern there to use. And then there are some suggestions in here that probably you can follow. So for each capability that you're designing or you're going with, as in like a capability of your business, it's a good idea to go with the nouns versus verbs. And that's actually provide a bit of more kind of adaptation and also some sort of integrated method of build up the business capability map. And sometimes I've seen some customers, for example, they're using mobile app as a capability, which is, well, I mean, if you build up a business capability or any capability that you select to go with, you probably could put it in this sort of statement in here that our business is able to do mobile app, for example, which is not right because our business is not doing mobile app. Mobile app is actually a channel which is helping me for engagement capability. So you need to be a bit careful about using the terms or like the items that you use for as in capability. So sometimes you go with a product which is not right, a solution or a department or a process. These are actually not capability. We need to be a bit more careful about that. And that's actually what we do by iterating and looking at the reference models out there. But at the end of the day, we would have this view in place, which is helping us to go with like a kind of visibility of the capability map that we have. And I'll just borrow this slide from Dr. Christine Stephenson. She's actually teaching this as in one of her courses in UTS, and in there she's coming with the process in place for build up the business capability model. And as you can see, the first step is coming with understanding the business. The core, like the core business that we're doing is actually the key, because this is also leading us toward the find out the proper reference model as the next stage, and also the value chain as the third step. So we need to understand the core business that we're doing. And then we can look at the existing reference models and come up with some sort of visibility out there, and what are the best practices. And then we would start to build up the value chain. Like I said, the value chain is a driver in here. Either we use that as a level 0, or we use it to build up level 0 of the business capability. We need to have a value chain. And then we continue with the core capabilities. And then obviously we detail each capability down to the next levels. We would have enabling capabilities at the next stage. And just mentioning that normally or usually the enabling capabilities, if you have a reference model for your industry, there is a good amount of reusability by referring to the existing reference models. So probably you want to look at the existing reference models and borrow a good amount of capabilities in there, which probably map with your enabling capability with your business. So it's a good idea to start looking at those reference models for enabling capability a bit closer. And then obviously you would do a publish there with the stakeholders. This is a place that you would talk to the stakeholders, get the feedback, and then probably get back and build up the other layers again and again until you make sure that the capability model is fit for you. And yeah, I mean, this is about like a bit of more approach of build up the business capability. Of course, this is not an easy practice, and well, there are lots of details out there, but just give you an idea how we can actually build up the business capability to use it as a reference for like make value out of that. So in this section, I'll go through the method or the approach that you can use business capability map to make some value for your business, or come up with those sort of analytic scenarios that I try to mention in the beginning. So that's actually a kind of a practice in here in this view, in this slide, that we start with kind of build up a baseline in our enterprise architecture. Well, I mean, I need to mention again that these are the views which has been created with Abacus. But, well, I mean, any other tool that you're using should be able to do the same for you. But this is more so referring to the approach that you would have to build up the whole chain in here. So you would just start with, like, as an input, you would need to have a business capabilities and also the motivation model, and part of that is strategy. So these are normally the input that we get from like the business as an enterprise architect. And then we also need to have a proper mapping between these two. And by mapping, I'm talking about like the capabilities that you need to have for each strategy to achieve the goals of the strategy. So each strategy to achieve its goals needs some ability, some capability, some resources, and you need to specify those things and map the strategy to the capabilities. So I assume that this is already in place as a baseline. And then you also build up your business capability map based on the capability model that you have already created. So we have this view, which is a very simplified one-page view, and help me to have a visibility of the capability that the organization or the enterprise is providing. Then you can start to do the overlay practices, as in like, so we put the business capability map as a planning tool in here. So like I try to mention, business capability map is basically the essence or the heart of the business, which is actually utilize the underlying people, processes, and technologies, and try to serve or build up the services and value streams toward the customers. So this is the area that I put at the center and come up with like some overlays in here, which is actually helping us to kind of understand or analyze the scenarios or the alignment that we have. And then once you have an overlay in here, you can start to study and analyze that and come up with some sort of alignment and planning. I'll just give you a high-level perspective in here. For instance, for the capability map, we have, like, you see these colors are talking about the alignment between the strategies and the capabilities. And as far as I could see in here, the strategies are focusing or utilizing some capabilities here under the build and create, and some capabilities here, more so under the enabling. But I see that like planning capabilities are not really utilized using the via the strategies, or monitoring function are not really utilized. We don't have any strategy looking at those capabilities. So I would like in one kind of view would be able to understand how it has been balanced, or how the capabilities are basically kind of utilized for like achieve the goals of the strategy. So this is obviously an example, but as soon as you just build up these baseline and utilize this capability map, you can simply create these type of overlays and give you a lot of insight there. This slide is also borrowed from Dr. Christine, which is suggesting 6 key fundamental sort of overlays that probably you wanna go with. And I'll just quickly go through them and come up with a bit of more kind of visibility there as well. So in here we have 6 key overlays that probably we wanna have, and one of them is obviously the strategy overlay, the pain point overlay. We also could have the project overlay, maturity overlay, which is actually a property of the capability or a KPI of the capability. We could have a product or services overlay, and also we could have roles or kind of responsibility overlays, or departments overlay, which is just let us know how the organizations are interacting with the capabilities. But the interesting part is that for each overlay, we would have different stakeholders coming with different demands. So an overlay would address different questions for like different stakeholders. For instance, I'll just go through the strategy overlay and see the demands of different stakeholders. Like executives are want to make sure that there is a balance in here, and we have proper use of the capabilities, and like proper alignment between the strategies that we have and the capabilities, because this is all about efficiency and using the proper sort of resources that we have. Or maybe like business designers are coming with a bit of more looking at the future business model. I'm going to have a new business model, how the capabilities are helping me to do that, or what kind of capabilities I need to have to achieve those future goals of the business. Or maybe change managers are coming with a bit more, I'm going to have these type of changes. What are the capabilities in the scope of the change that I need to revise or evolve probably? So these are different sort of questions that this simple view can help you to answer. And then obviously these are not the only overlays that probably we want to have. We do have like other overlays in here. So for example, I just list some of those, as in like the criticality of the capability based on the like different aspects which could be attributed from some other, like criticality of the applications, for example, or criticality of the services that we're offering. So we can also specify the criticality of the capability. Competitive advantages. This is also another aspect that you can overlay on the capabilities, and you would notice that what is the area that I'm actually quite kind of competitive, and what is the area that I'm not competitive enough and I need to make it better. Resource consumptions, cost and investment is another aspect of that. So if you're spending costs in different areas, projects, or if you do some sort of ideations and you wanna know how the capability is helping me to kind of deliver those sort of investments, you would be able to do that overlay. Initiatives, of course, and then service offering is another one that you can come up like how my capabilities are like helping me to offer the services. So, and this is actually another type of overlay that you can have in here. But once we're talking about the overlay, and once we're talking about the business capability map, there is a simple question here that, okay, I'm happy to do the overlay, but how I can do that, and what is the data that I can put on top of the business capability model? So I'll come up with like some data that you can put there as an overlay, and also some techniques in visualization. And again, I used Abacus to do that, but should be possible for other tools that you're using. So the first approach that I use to overlay is using the properties. So each capability, we have a list of capabilities, and each capability is coming with some properties. And we use like techniques to overlay those properties on top of the map that I have. So I have a diagram, and I try to highlight some property of the capabilities that I have. And by property of the capabilities, I'm talking about 3 different properties. Either a property which is directly assigned to a capability, like the maturity level of the capability is a populated property, which is provided by the experts, and this is a property of the capability itself. The attributed property, like criticality of the criticality of the capability, which is coming from the underlying or like the upper layer of the capability, so it's attributed to that. Or a KPI or a calculated property, which is actually, for instance, like you would know the number of applications that are actually used to serve that capability. This is another property of the capability. So these are different properties that probably you could have. And once you have those properties, I'll just provide you example in here, of course, with different approaches or techniques to visualize those information. So one of those is like overlaying with the heat map. So you use the colors to show the values there. So that's obviously one of the approach. And then the, for example, more gray means more, for example, for this one, the strategy dependency, more dependency of the strategies and capabilities, or less gray means like less involvement. And then you can have some KPIs, those numbers that you can see in here, number of applications. I have some capabilities which are not using any application, and this is some area that I need to have a look. But then I have some other marker in here, which is just another layer or another piece of information for me, and talking about, for example, the pain points. So I would highlight the capabilities which are facing serious pain points, like this one, for example, or this one in here. And then this is also another possibility that you can use a shape or icon to highlight the property into the capability model. I just need to add that I grayed this out because this is a new feature of Abacus, which is coming soon. We don't have it yet, but we would have it soon. But then you can just use the property, and based on the value of the property, you can put an icon there, which is also an interesting function. But the whole point here is that you would have a list of properties, and then you want to show them, and you can have multiple layers, like one layer per property, and each property would give you or tell you a story about the alignment and your business fitness in there. And the other approach is that we're talking about the architecture, we're talking about elements which are connected to the elements, and obviously business capability is one of those central components which are coming with a lot of connections there. And once you have that, you need to have a technique to, as in like box in the boxes technique, that you show the actual components on top of the capability map. And this is also another technique that you can use and go with, and kind of visualize the way that the capabilities, and as in this example, the way that the capabilities are kind of using the applications, and what are the exact applications which are used by each capability. You would have these boxes are the actual applications. And then like, because the overlay is a common practice, you can now put an overlay on top of the applications which are in use by the capabilities. So you group the application per capability, visualize them in this way, and then you use the overlays by kind of color mapping again, or like the markers or KPIs or anything, which is now relate to the applications. So as you can see, there are lots of possibilities in here, different layer of information that you can just simply put in one diagram, and this is telling you a lot of stories. And obviously you can have overlays for the capabilities as well at the same time, so it's kind of possible to use that in different layers and different levels. Yep, and these are actually two main techniques that you can use to do the overlay. Another feature in here using the business capability map is like studying the future state. And I'll just quickly touch on this one as well, as in like we have a current state, and this is showing me the way that the strategies are actually utilizing capabilities for me. As you can see, it's not quite balanced, looking at the color and the shade of grays. But this one is the future state, the way that I would use the capabilities more effectively and more efficiently to achieve the goals of the strategy. So there is more utilization in here based on the colors, and there is more alignment also, or more kind of distribution in here for the capabilities, which is also a balance of using the capabilities with the like to achieve the goals of the strategy. So this is simply tell you how I'm getting aligned like in future, and that's also another value that you can simply get. A quick recap before the last slide, going through the scenarios. We start with a bit of elements in here, like meta model design. We mentioned that the meta model we need to have a meta model, and meta model should be able to support business motivation model, business capability model. We also mentioned about the business motivation model and the way that we can implement that, including the strategies toward the action plans. We talked about the business capability model implementation, the way that we use value chain as a kind of a guideline, and then go through the business capability map and try to put the business capability map as a planning tool and try to overlay that, the information on top using the properties and connections. And then we go through the analysis in here. So either we go with like one single overlay, or maybe multiple overlays, put different things together, like strategies and pain points, or strategies and projects, or pain points and applications, and kind of coming with a lot of visibility there that page of view, and also looking at the future state planning for how we can proceed, or how our business operate better in future if you want to. And this is a quick recap at what we discussed and how the journey is started from here down to the analysis. But I'll just want to finish the talk with this kind of observation that probably you can achieve once you use that techniques or the method. So for example, you come up with like, I have a capability which doesn't support the strategy, but it consumes like a considerable investment. So you put two overlays there, a strategy and investment, and you come up with this observation, and obviously there is a misalignment, or could be a misalignment there, and you need to revise or talk to the people again. Like the Jacob scenario, I have a strategy supporting like for supporting like next 18 months of business model, but it is relying on a capability which is facing a serious pain points. So that's also another observation that you can simply get out of that. And well, obviously you need to enhance your business capability which is facing the pain point. You probably come up with like those capabilities which are like highlighted as competitive advantages, and also some capabilities which you're not good enough into it, like as an enterprise. And well, obviously you can create a SWOT analysis for each strategy accordingly. And the Sarah's scenarios here, like the strategy is perfectly mapped, everything is fine, but the KPIs are not aligned. So well, I think you need to enhance or add new capabilities there. And well, I mean, if you have a strategy which is not mapped to any capability, then we need to revalidate the strategy, how it goes, which is not using any capability out there.